Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on The Flash Season 6, and this is going to be my review for Episode 7 for this season, otherwise entitled The Last Temptation of Barry Allen, Part 1. But of course, there will be spoilers in this video, so don't watch if you haven't watched the episode, and some crap goes down in multiple areas, really with just one storyline, but maybe a couple storylines as well, but man, some crap goes down, maybe some, saying blood crap isn't very good, is it? Let's just say crap. But anyway, last episode we had the Elongated Man episode, the License to Elongate, where people were calling it filler. I don't think it was really filler, but anyway, we had like Ralph doing some stuff which set up some stuff for the back half, and also I guess this episode with like Black Hole, Sue Dearborn, and stuff like that. But right at the end of the episode, literally right at the end that leads into this episode, we of course see Bloodwork appear, much different looking from when we'd last seen him. He just looks all blacky, veined up. It was pretty creepy. He looked like he had grills on. I think he actually has like grills on, but they're like black colored grills. Anyway, you can look into that if you want. But he does tackle Ralph off of the building, and that's exactly where we pick up this episode. But of course, throughout the video, if you want to leave all your thoughts and opinions on the episode, be sure to do that. Interested to see what you guys think about the episode and whether you liked it as much as I did. And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video and just excited from what you saw and you love the episode, why not drop a like on it to show that support and love. But yeah, as I said, this episode picks off right from where last episode ended, with Ramsey tackling Ralph off the building. It looks sort of like an aerial fight. Now it was pretty cool having these two fight because it was sort of similar powers. I guess not similar powers, but similar, well yeah, like a similar power, because Ramsey has that control of the blood, so he can almost make like an elongated man sort of stretch and, big fists and everything like that. So I thought it was actually pretty cool. They went down that route where both of them were sort of hitting each other with the same sort of attack. But what we see is that Ralph is actually infected with Ramsay's blood. Now he's basically used as sort of like another blood bag. Now this is pretty surprising because Ralph is, this sort of might teach Ralph a lesson, who knows, because Ralph is pretty much impervious to a lot of things. But in this case, it's pretty hard when like the blood's involved and Ramsay's got the powers that he does have. But it was actually smart. Like Ramsey was thinking like a couple of steps ahead with his whole plan in this episode, which is always the best villains, or at least the smartest villains, are always thinking a couple of steps ahead. A la Prometheus, if you want to go back to Arrow and stuff like that. But as we see, and this sort of goes along with Ramsey's plan, Barry has to donate his speed healing through his blood to heal Ralph. We'll come back to what happens here, but the thing with Ramsey is I saw people complaining like, oh, they were taking so long, there wasn't enough blood work, and I agree, maybe there wasn't enough Ramsey in certain episodes. Maybe they should have had him for, even if it's just for 5 minutes or 5 minutes more, just 5 minutes an episode where he didn't appear at all. But I think they had to do the slow burn with this character, otherwise what happens in this episode isn't as effective. If we'd seen something similar last episode or the episode before, it wouldn't have been as cool to see him just mess with Barry this episode and everything he does. So I think the slow burn worked perfectly with this character because there was other stuff to focus on, like Crisis and even some other storylines. So I think they handled this first half of the season tremendously well. Outside of maybe like the Cisco episode was a filler, but even then I think it was an enjoyable filler and helped some stuff out with Cisco in regards to closure and just with that character in general, and which might lead into Crisis as well, we don't know. But every episode I think has served a purpose, and I think they've really nailed the opening half. I might be in the minority there, but I think I'm right in saying that. Now, one thing that some of you might have picked up, they do mention it a couple of times later in the episode, but we're on December 6th here, I think it is, which is 2 days away from Crisis. I think towards the end of the episode, around there, Barry references 36 hours, I think. So the reason that this will happen is because this is a 2-part finale. So basically, both the episodes are happening within like a 24-hour period. And then also right at the end of episode 8, next week's episode, basically Crisis starts. There's a teaser for Crisis at the end of next week's episode, which will most likely be around Nash Wells, which is also teased in this episode. And then Crisis will begin the next week. So that's why we've had like this big time jump to really, really close to Crisis. They're pretty much like almost 2 weeks ahead of where we are. But obviously, as I was alluding to before, when Barry gave Ralph his blood, he in turn infected himself with Ramsey's contagion, only with like the smallest little, I think it was like one little speck of like Ramsey's black blood got into Barry's system and just needs to spread and stuff, and it will eventually screw over Barry. So Ramsey has all these memories of Crisis, knowing that Barry's the Flash and everything like that. So yeah, Barry did the right thing helping Ralph, but this was all part of Ramsey's plan to eventually get through to Barry, and it worked. In regards to like the side stories for this episode, we did see that Iris has been pre-writing the Crisis article for Barry, and not really pre-writing it, but she's had it there sitting there. So she's had like the headline, the picture, but it seems like it's just been sitting there and she's been sort of avoiding writing it. By the end of the episode, she eventually gets up the courage and starts writing it just due to what's happening. But yeah, so that's all starting now. But we also do see Iris and Allegra dive into the mystery behind the secret organization, which we know as Black Hole. I think they're going by the name like Maelstrom Couriers, I think it was. But it's Black Hole, but that'll, happen later down the track. They are later joined by Camilla, and that also that kicks off their story with that side story for the season, which we might see next episode, but there's so much Barry crap going on next episode. They might not do anything unless they do a Black Hole teaser that might be disconnected from Iris and the other girls. So they might pick up with that in episode 10 early next year, but we'll have to wait and see what they do there. Now, Nashwell's under Central City. He gets through that stone wall with that device, so he is close to getting through to Marnovu, aka the Monitor. Now, that's most likely going to be the crisis tease, whether Nashwell's becomes Pariah or something along those lines. We'll have to wait and see, but it was a random scene, like a really quick, 30-second scene, but I think they needed to do that this episode, so then other stuff can happen next episode. But it'll be interesting to see what the crisis tease is, even though I'm sure it'll specifically be around Nashwell's, maybe or maybe not him becoming Pariah. Now, Barry's mother, Nora, shows up, but of course, it's not Nora, but it's also not Ramsey, which, you could have thought it would have been. It's actually, once again, the Speed Force, which loves taking the form of Nora. Now, she lets Barry know about the infection, basically explains everything I've said before in regards to how Barry got infected. But basically, Ramsey's trying to take control of Barry and bend him to his will, and basically become one of Bloodwork's servants, if you want to call it. Not servants, well, we'll just use that term for now anyway, but to basically work for Bloodwork. But, not surprising that she showed up in the form of the Speed Force, or the Speed Force showed up in the form of Nora. Now, that dinner scene, what the hell? That was disgusting. What the hell was going on there? That was messed up. Everyone looked like they'd been chewing tobacco or something like that. It was, I don't know, it was pretty messed up. I'm sure they had fun filming that scene, but man, watching it was a bit disgusting, not gonna lie. But once again, another scene that Ramsey sent Barry down on was the graveyard scene. Now, this was a great scene, showed Barry the toll of what's happened there, all the deaths associated with Barry's life, which then came back into the episode, which I really liked. It wasn't just scene after scene of just random stuff to sort of mess with Barry. It all sort of came back to a really, a big, climax, if you want to call it, which I thought was really great. But you saw, Martin Stein, Eddie Thorne, Henry, Alan, both of the Noras, multiple other people. I can't remember who else was there. Anyone that sort of died around, I'm guessing Ronnie was there as well, Ronnie Raymond maybe. Just all those names. And it was a nice little flash. Well, do I say nice? It was just a cool little flashback to see all those characters sort of referenced again. But yeah, that's just a heavy toll on Barry's life as the Flash. But then we head to, I think for a single scene, this is probably the saddest scene, and this was Barry with baby Nora and just trying to grab her and stuff like that. I thought that was pretty sad because, obviously, even if Iris was ended up getting pregnant, she wouldn't obviously give birth in time for Barry to witness Nora in front of him. So that was a tough scene to watch, especially because of what happened to Nora last season, whether or not you like the character or not. Seeing that with Barry with his unborn child, or I guess potential child in the future, was just tough to watch. Man, that was Grant Gustin in this episode was incredible. Also, I think this is arguably one of the best episodes he's ever done, and it's because the episode relied so heavily on him. This rivaled, I think, Runaway Dinosaur and what that episode did, because that was a lot of talking, and this episode was a lot of talking as well. This episode obviously went for a lot of imagery as well, but very similar episodes with a couple of different elements as well. But Grant Gustin knocked it out of the park. But we do see Barry seeing himself as the Flash with Ramsey's abilities. Barry's about to give in to Ramsey, but he's actually eventually saved by the Speed Force. And we also do get a scene in that red room where everyone's sort of telling him all these different things. We do see Reverse Flash show up, even with blood on his mouth and stuff, almost like he's a vampire or some crap like that. But it was cool to see Reverse Flash, and that makes you think, hey, is that a tease for Crisis? He was wearing a wig and everything like that. Are we going to see your boy back in Crisis in a couple of weeks? But just seeing him there was cool. But we do see Barry triggered that there is a potential route to save him, but the Speed Force wants him to go down their destined path that they've made up for him. And eventually this is going to lead to Barry getting taken over by Ramsey, because Barry didn't choose the path of the Flash. It was thrust upon him. The lightning bolt came from him. He wasn't like, hello lightning gods, hit me with the bolt of lightning, maybe have speed. He didn't ask for that. He didn't ask for that at all. He didn't shoot himself up with velocity 9. That's not what he did. He was just given these powers. And along with that, people died for that, with the graveyard scene and everything like that. So there's a lot of just weight on Barry's shoulders. and it's weight that he didn't ask for. And the Speed Force is always trying to like tinker with things to, you know, send him down a different path. And they're just completely trying to swerve him off the path where he can eventually survive, which, you know, obviously is going to trigger Barry to the point which we see in this episode. But one of the crazy parts in this episode was definitely when Barry kills his own mother. I guess, sort of. It was like the Speed Force version, but just straight up reverse flashes her, phases through the heart. And I was like, what the hell? And they even do like the thing where they sort of show the similarities, like Barry's reverse flash in that situation. Nora's even pulling the same face in the same position. I was like, what the hell? But then we obviously see like the Speed Force and Ramsey trying to take over Barry and control him, and they're merging, which obviously that was like really good imagery that they used there to show them merging as well. The nice shot there. But you could tell straight away when Barry woke up that he was different. He was not acting normal. He was, especially like obviously the iris scene was a giveaway, but he just definitely wasn't acting like a person that had gone through what he'd gone through, even, regardless of his speed healing. Was still acting a bit different. But yeah, we eventually see that Barry is taken over by Ramsey. He becomes officially the Negative Flash. Black eyes, black grills. The suit is completely different. Well, not completely different. It's got like the black veins and everything like that. And we even do see Ramsey in like as the CGI big Bloodwork thing in the shadows. You see his shadow and then he sort of transforms back down into his human form. I'll put up a picture of what that looks like in the comics. We know we're getting that next episode. We did see the big like person on a stilts, sort of like to get the height of that character when they're doing set photos. So we are going to see that next episode. Hopefully it looks good. I think it's a nighttime scene, so it should look half decent. It's not daytime, thank God. But I can't wait to see just how this wraps up in part 2, because it's going to be crazy. It looks like Central City's getting taken over by zombies. It's going to be just wacky. That's probably the best word to use. Wacky. But overall, I think this was the best episode of the season, and fitting that it is. You know, part 1 of the mid-season finale. Next week might not be as good, but I definitely think it'll compete. I don't think, maybe if this is a 10, like, honestly, I didn't dislike anything in this episode. I honestly didn't. I don't really like saying, oh, it's a 10 out of 10, but man, I can't really think of anything that would take points off. I can't really think of anything that would take points off. I really enjoyed this episode, and I'm so excited to see what they do next week to wrap this all up. As I said, I think they've really nailed the opening half of the season, outside of maybe the Cisco episode, which I still think served a purpose. But yeah, loved it. Loved this episode. Grant killed it. And I can't wait to see what they do next episode to wrap this Bloodwork up, and Bloodwork arc up, and also Senthil Ramamurthy. I forgot to mention him. He did incredible as well. He plays a villain so well. It's actually crazy. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed my video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like and it shows support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions on what we went over in my review, what your thoughts are. If you disagree with me or if you agree with me, let me know in the comments. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.